At last, a new God of War game is on the horizon. In a move that I'm not sure anyone could have seen coming, Kratos made a big reveal at E3 a few years back with a fresh coat of Naughty Dog scented paint. The trailer saw a gruff guy with facial hair following a kid around on this big story-driven journey that I'm sure is gonna make me cry. As for me, well, like, you know me, I'm a bloody big God of War guy. I never shut up about God of War. I remember when I bought the first game on eBay all those years ago. I'll never forget that day. I gave it a shot, put it in the PS2, and it never worked. I never got to play it. I've still never played. I don't know anything about this franchise at all, I'm gonna be honest with you. From what I can tell, a guy gets betrayed or tricked, loses his family, and so goes on a warpath of revenge with the bloody Greek gods or something. Done! There we go. That's pretty much the entire saga summarized right there, I'm sure. But despite my complete lack of nostalgia and conflicting feedback of whether I should even play this game first, I was pretty excited. It seems like there's a lot going for it, so I couldn't wait to dive in. Now, first off, as a guy that appreciates more isolated personal stories, this game really appealed to me in that regard. Behind all the visual spectacle and shiny presentation is a pretty simple story about a father and his son, and the complications between them to really connect with one another. Despite being an all-powerful god that can take down an enemy 1,000 times his size, Kratos struggles to hold a real conversation or really even open up to his own kid. Atreus too learned throughout the game how to become a better warrior through Kratos' teachings, but in turn they both have to come to realizations about each other to really move forward. With Kratos also trying to shroud his past and his tendency towards anger, while also taking responsibility for someone outside of his own control. It's a great story about vulnerability, restraint, and learning to become better. It's a lot more depth than I really expected to find, and throughout the story I found myself relating to different characters and turning on others. And yeah, although I am sure that this game will appeal to longtime fans of the series as well, I was absolutely still on board for the story, and I never felt like I had to keep up. So to anyone worried about whether this game is a good jumping on point or not like I was, I don't think you'll have anything to worry about. To accompany this, the presentation is phenomenal. The score is provided by Bear McCreary, who just so happens to be one of my favourite composers. His work on 10 Cloverfield Lane is very underappreciated in my opinion, and he does a really good job here. He really delivers these roaring punches of haunting, ominous pieces to really heighten the more emotional portions of the game. This and the visual storytelling in this game is fantastic. As you make your way around the 9 realms, the scenery really paints this world that is more grand and important than I can really do justice. This is a world made up of countless centuries, and coming across these ancient remnants of the past can only make me imagine what this world was once like. There's world building and lore everywhere you look, in the characters, in the jaw-dropping scenery, and in the collectibles too. And to top it off, everything you learn throughout this game is actually true to Norse mythology as well, with these incredibly interesting stories, the languages and runes found throughout the game that can actually be translated, and appearances from some of the gods themselves. In other words, fodder for Kratos and Atreus to get through, of course. It's that extra step in tying this game to Norse mythology that really sells this game as a pure passion project, which really shines through in the gameplay. At its core, God of War is still a hack and slash first and foremost. While the game is absolutely still concerned about being cinematic and telling this huge story, in no way at all does it skimp out or sacrifice any other aspect as a result. The combat system is done so incredibly well, always adding new elements to keep things exciting, but never feeling overwhelming. The amount of tools that you end up having at your disposal is staggering, and oftentimes I'd reach the end of a boss fight and then realise I didn't even make use of Atreus' arrows, or the shield, or the runic attacks that you have. There's so much that opens up all these combat options that string together beautifully in this rhythmic ballet of bloodshed, and gore, and fire and adrenaline. It honestly reminds me of Doom in a way. It's so high octane and adrenaline pumping, it's so bloody good. I guess in more ways than one, I suppose. And all of this is made even more exciting with the Leviathan Axe, which is such a fantastic weapon. I've always thought that an inspired weapon alone can sometimes do wonders for a video game. If something like that can be done effectively and cause you to think differently about your environment, then that's just solid good game design to me, and the Leviathan Axe is a fantastic example of this. The way you can like throw it at enemies and then it gets lodged in their skull and then just have it boomerang right back to you is so cool. Like, it really opens up so much that you can do. You can throw it at an enemy, you know, freeze them in place for a little bit, punch another enemy barehanded, then have it come back to you and it hits 2 more enemies on the way back, and then you can do this little attack here. Oh my god, it's so fun. It really... I'm running out of ways to talk about it and gush, but it's so good. And it becomes even better too once you start making the use of enchantments and artifacts, which let you power up your armor and weapons even further for even more devastating results. Again, it's something that I did kind of expect to be toned down a little bit in favor of an emotionally cathartic story, but no, they went all out with this combat. I love it. I mean, I never came close to getting sick of combat. I always looked forward to it. I would compare it to Bloodborne, because even the controls are mostly the same, but that's dangerously close to Dark Souls, which it is also similar to, but you're not really allowed to do that anymore, and I don't want people to hate me, so I won't, but I will secretly, but not officially. Alright, so that's that out of the way. What can I gush about next? Oh yeah, that's another thing. The game is also visually insane. And I don't just mean graphically either, I mean conceptually, just the overall scope of what this game tries to achieve. While exploring the Lake of Nine, I could never take my eyes off the World Serpent, the snake that, allegedly, according to Atreus, is wrapped around the entire planet. I mean, if that alone doesn't give you a little bit more interest in Norse mythology, or at the very least this game, then you're a lost cause. I don't know what to say to you. I just can't get over it. He's incredible and terrifying, and I love him, and his voice scares me a lot. He's very imposing and scary, and he's cool though. I like him. He's my favourite. There's other points in the game too where I just couldn't quite believe what I was looking at. Again, not only because it looked so good, but just the concept of it. Like, the very idea of what I was looking at was so ominous and cool. To transport yourself into a world like this and compare yourself to the size of some of the things you see in this game is utterly fantastic. I know I need to find more words to use than just fantastic, but it really is fantastic. Also, some of the set pieces this game manages to pull off in its boss fights, not to mention some of the boss fights themselves, and being able to see the Lake of Nine from the summit of the mountain just makes Midgard as a whole feel so authentic and, dare I say it, immersive. A world this big is just begging to be explored, and this game does such a great job of rewarding you when you do. The main storyline, as great as it is just scratching the very tip of the iceberg of what it has to offer, not only in side plots and extra equipment, but added character development between Kratos and Atreus. What makes this game work so well, in my opinion, is how everything feeds back into the story. In a game like Arkham Knight, you can abandon the main quest at any point and magically put it on hold to instead take down 7 or 8 other bad guys who are all conveniently waiting for you. And that's not a bad approach necessarily, but it does kind of break that sense of urgency to know that, oh, okay, everyone's just waiting for me. There's no real sense of danger to anything. But Kratos and Atreus agree to only break away from the main goal if it means preparing for the road ahead. Kratos doesn't really care about helping anyone out, he just wants their armor like I do. Exploration as a whole works as a nice B-plot in and of itself, as Atreus tries to prove to his father that some people are worth helping, while Kratos tries to prove that help comes at a price, and that kindness can only be taken advantage of in the battlefield. It's so cool that it makes this much contextual sense. I don't think I've seen filler content be justified so well as this since Breaking Bad's Fly, one of my favourite episodes of the whole show, despite it being essentially filler. I didn't think I'd ever be making a comparison like that on this channel, gonna be honest, but I did it. It's probably even worse than the Dark Souls one, isn't it? Oh god. And once you keep in mind that the game opens up entire realms and worlds for you, solely for the purpose of exploring outside of the main storyline, it's just, god, it's an embarrassment of riches, and I am, frankly, quite embarrassed by it. But of course we don't live in an ideal world where criticisms cannot exist, and I do have but one, I guess kinda major flaw with this game. Like I said, this is my entry point to the God of War franchise, but I'm not entirely oblivious to them, and more than anything I know that the appeal to them are the boss fights. And this game definitely has very cool boss fights too, but also a lot of boss fights that are identical. And I do mean a lot. You will have to face one of these guys quite a few times, and that's even if you dodge all of the optional stuff. It's a shame because it's the one point of the game, the single facet of the entire thing where I can kinda sense that more could have been done, even if it meant adding one or two more boss varieties. Either way, like I said, the combat's always fun, I always enjoyed fighting these guys, they were never really boring, but the amount of times I did have to fight them got a little bit ridiculous. Other than that, God of War is absolutely phenomenal, and I'm kicking myself already that I'm only just now getting into this series. Maybe one of these days I'll have to do a video on the other games too, because I'm already itching for more. This game honestly has everything you could want. A story that is interesting, impactful, cinematic, not to mention lengthy. The gameplay is chaotic and fun and exciting. The characters are fascinating, memorable, intimidating, and in some cases funny, especially Mamiya, who reminded me of a mix between Portal 2's Wheatley and Simon Pegg. He was my favourite by a country mile. Then again, I said that about the World Serpent too, didn't I? And they can't both be my favourite. Oh no, okay. Whatever, sorry Mamiya, the World Serpent's my favourite, he's just way better. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause for the World Serpent, one of my favourite characters. Yeah, you did it! You were my favourite! I'll have you! There's an overwhelming amount of things to collect in every realm that will keep you busy for a long while if you're looking for a good time killer. From what I can tell, the original trilogy on the PS2 and the PS3 was pretty bloody conclusive, which is why nobody really expected this game at all. But yet somehow, the possibilities this game opens up and the storylines it teases make me more excited for the future than a game has in a long, long time. Hey everyone, how's it going? Thank you for watching my review of God of War. If I seem kind of off right now, that's because I have been up all night playing God of War. It's currently 7 AM. I don't know where the time went. I swear to God it was 1 AM an hour ago. I don't know how it happened. I didn't mean to. Either way, if you like this video and you want to see more like it and you want to support me, go to patreon.com/Farfetch'd for only $1. You can get behind the scenes videos, you can get videos early, you get pre-production stuff, you get previews, a podcast, loads of stuff for only $1. Come on, how can you not go for that? That's a steal. Other than that, I have a Facebook and a Twitter, because who doesn't nowadays? The link's in the description below. I think if it's not, you can look me up, you'll probably find me. I don't know, I'm too tired to care. I should probably do another take of this because this is not going well, but I can't be bothered. So just whatever, just I'm tired, man. Done.